On April 10, news agencies shook the world with reports that a mysterious wave anomaly had appeared in the Atlantic Ocean in the area between South Africa and Antarctica. Recorded by the most popular weather mapping system, Ventusky, a gigantic accumulation of waves 25.5 meters high, according to Ventusky, moved across the Atlantic Ocean from Antarctica to the shores of Africa. The area of the anomaly was 5.5 million square kilometers. This is slightly smaller than Australia. The maximum dimensions of the anomaly were 2,800 kilometers long and 2,000 kilometers wide. This anomaly was recorded on the night of April 10 and disappeared without a trace on the afternoon of April 11. These days, the information background was filled with messages about events on a planetary scale. On April 5 at 14.23 Universal Time, a strange earthquake occurred in New Jersey, 45 kilometers from New York. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the magnitude of the earthquake on the Richter scale was 4.8 points. The depth of the source was 4.7 kilometers. It was also announced that this earthquake was the third strongest in the New York region on record and the first in the last 200 years. Yes, that's right. But earthquakes of this magnitude occur quite often in different areas of the United States. But on April 5, unprecedented measures were unexpectedly introduced. The UN Security Council meeting in New York was urgently interrupted. Many TV channels switched to breaking news mode, and 2 airports temporarily stopped working completely. NBC News, citing the American Geological Survey, reported that this was a powerful earthquake and emphasized that information about the destruction and casualties is being clarified. The world community around the world was tensely glued to their TV screens, waiting for news about the disaster in the United States. But, at this time, New Yorkers reacted differently to this earthquake. Some continued to calmly go about their business, while others fell to the ground from shock. Someone compared the tremors to a roller coaster under the house, and the roar to tanks driving down the street. I was sitting in my living room and saw the walls shaking. It was like a wave, said a resident from Brooklyn. And on April 8, a total solar eclipse occurred, the full phase of which could be observed in Mexico, the USA and Canada. A solar eclipse and a strange earthquake in the New York area have caused global concern. U.S. emergency response forces were put on full alert, and many residents shared that they felt strange, empty and painful. But that is not all. Back in early 2024, it was announced that on April 8 the launch of the third year of operation of CERN's flagship particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, would take place. On the official CERN website, scientists happily announced that 2024 would mark the return of stable beams to the Large Hadron Collider and promised 6 months of proton collisions with an energy of 13.6 TeV, a trillion electron volts, at an even higher brightness than before. At the same time, 13.6 TeV, trillion electron volts, is a record energy level that the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, will reach during the new Run 3 session. But late in the evening of April 5, a message was unexpectedly published on the CERN website that the Large Hadron Collider had already been launched ahead of schedule, on April 5 at 18.25, i.e. at 17.25 Universal Time. The CERN website also published a schedule of work from the Large Hadron Collider under the heading, First Stable Beams in 2024. Let's take a closer look at it. It can be seen that the first launches began on the evening of April 4. Then, in the morning and afternoon of April 5, the indicators on the chart were constantly changing, sometimes reaching the maximum zone. And now we superimpose the time of the earthquake in the USA 14.23 on this graph, converting the time readings of the graph from CERN to universal time. Let us recall that the Large Hadron Collider returned to normal mode at 17.25 universal time, i.e. 3 hours after the earthquake in New York. So maybe there is a connection between the launch process of the Large Hadron Collider and the strange earthquake in New York. Maybe those who were supposed to know about the process of launching the collider and were waiting for the earthquakes to continue with even more powerful tremors? But planet Earth did not allow a global catastrophe to break out. Also on April 8, during a solar eclipse, Peter Higgs, winner of the 2013 Nobel Prize in Physics for his prediction of the Higgs boson, dies. At the time of his death he was 94 years old. And on the night of April 9 to 10, our mysterious anomaly was recorded in the Atlantic Ocean. A huge accumulation of waves up to 25.5 meters high and 2,000 kilometers wide moved from Antarctica to the shores of South Africa. At that moment, no one knew what to expect or how it would end for the southwest coast of Africa. But on the afternoon of April 11, having approached the shores of Africa as close as possible, the anomaly suddenly disappeared without a trace. Science has not yet encountered such a phenomenon. Everyone was at a loss. What was it? Some online commentators said the formation could only have been created by something moving beneath the sea's surface, making it an unidentified underwater object, the ocean equivalent of a UFO. Some suspected it was an alien invasion. But what could these people wearing tinfoil hats know? Nothing. The alien invasion already happened many years ago. And we, unfortunately, lost it. Even Newsweek dived into the study of the oddities, suggesting a possible connection between this phenomenon and the ancient deity Cthulhu, a huge creature resembling an octopus, which was described by the American science fiction writer Howard Lovecraft in his books. Early on the morning of April 12, Ventashi posted a message on X, saying that, despite numerous reports of UFOs or Atlanteans launching from the ocean, yesterday's image of giant waves near Africa was due to a model error. Fortunately, our service provider, the German Meteorological Institute, has already fixed the problem and the forecast is fine. Ventusky spokesman David Prantl, in an email response the same day, also confirmed that this was a model error. Ventusky serves as a visualization platform that collects data from various sources. The error originated in the model itself, so it was also reflected in the visualization on our website. In this case, the model is provided by the German Weather Service, DWD, with whom we are in contact, and they have already fixed this error. Please note that the model receives millions of data points from ships and buoys throughout the ocean. A large database may experience problems. However, it may take time to determine the exact cause of this error. To recap, Ventusky is a weather app from Czech company Inmeteo that allows users to monitor weather conditions, winds and waves using real-time data collected from reputable international sources, including the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, a U.S. government agency. Previously, on its website, the company wrote, "We have created a completely new wave display system. Using animated arcs, our visualization clearly distinguishes the direction of movement and height of both wind waves and swell." Ventash's flippant response was unlikely to please skeptics and, frankly, seemed unprofessional. Additionally, anomaly researchers have learned over the years to be suspicious of official government reports that misrepresent the facts in their presentation. In an avalanche of all kinds of assumptions about the nature of what happened, a message slipped unnoticed that the cause of the anomaly was CERN, i.e. European Center for Nuclear Research. And we are inclined to support this assumption. To a certain extent, the Zen channel, Evil Ecologist, referring to its source, Keepers and Doers, to some extent confirmed the validity of our reasoning. Only they suggested that this phenomenon is associated with the recent launch of a muon accelerator in Antarctica. We have our own version, which we will discuss below. At the same time, flooding occurs in Orsk and Orenburg, caused by an unexpected increase in water in the Ural River. Let's look at the graph of water inflow at the Iraklin hydroelectric complex. Since April 1st there has been a sharp warming. Even at night the temperature is above zero. This leads to rapid and severe snowmelting. The peak of water inflow, 2,480 tons per second, instead of the usual 500 for this time of year, occurred on April 5th. It's April 5th again. But let's return to our mysterious anomaly in the Atlantic Ocean. Let's take a closer look at its location. The anomaly appeared at a distance of about 3,000 kilometers from Antarctica and 3,500 kilometers from Africa. At a quick glance, it may seem that this place is located in a vast ocean. But if you look closely, it turns out that there is a small island near the origin of the anomaly. In Google Earth, this island is visible only with high magnification. This is Bouvet Island. an uninhabited volcanic island in the South Atlantic Ocean, located at the southern end of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. The island's area is only 49 square km. According to the Norwegian Polar Institute, namely Norway owns this island. 93% of the island's territory is covered with glaciers and it is a reserve for fur seals and other Antarctic wild animals. According to NASA, this is one of the most remote islands in the world from the mainland, after Easter Island and the Tristan da Cunha Islands. The island was discovered by the Frenchman Bouvet in 1739. Why did this island find itself at the epicenter of an inexplicable anomaly? A remote, frozen, uninhabited island between South Africa and Antarctica is not the most exciting place. Perhaps this is just an accident associated with a glitch in the program, as explained in Ventuska. Or maybe there is something else interesting in this area. Yes, let us recall that the anomaly was large in size, namely 5.5 million square kilometers, which is slightly less than the area of the continent of Australia. The southernmost point of the anomaly that appeared was in the area of the small island of Bouvet. And the northernmost point of the anomaly was not far from the Tristan da Cunha group of islands. Tristan da Cunha is an archipelago in the South Atlantic Ocean, part of the British Overseas Territory of St. Helena. Ascension and Tristan da Cunha. It is of volcanic origin. It is the most remote, populated, and we emphasize populated, place on Earth from the continents. On the island is the permanent settlement of Edinburgh of the Seven Seas with administration, hospital, school, shops, hotels, etc. The population is about 300 people. The island is located approximately 3,000 kilometers from South Africa, 3,500 kilometers from Antarctica. This island is interesting because, despite its remote location, it was visited twice by members of the British royal family. In 1867, Queen Victoria's second son, HRH Prince Alfred, Duke of Edinburgh, commander of the frigate Galatea, arrived on the island on the 5th of August. It is believed that it was in his honor that the settlement was named Edinburgh, later officially known as Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. On January 17, 1957, the island of Tristan da Cunha was visited by 26-year-old Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. Wikipedia has this to say: in the autumn of 1956, he embarked on a 5-month tour of the Commonwealth on the Royal Yacht Britannia, opened the 1956 Summer Olympics in Melbourne and visited Antarctica, becoming the first member of the British royal family to cross the Antarctic Circle. Prince Philip's goal was not Antarctica, which he never visited, and the goal of his long journey was the Tristan da Cunha group of islands. But there is almost no information about this visit on the internet. Only on the official website of the Edinburgh Seven Seas village on the island of Tristan da Cunha, Prince Philip's visit, lasting only a few hours, is described in detail. 5 freshly painted Tristan longboats put to sea to welcome the arrival of Her Majesty's Yacht Britannia and Prince Philip on the island. The Duke of Edinburgh was at the helm of the first boat to land on the beach. The islanders greeted him in their Sunday best. Women and girls were dressed in colorful printed dresses and scarves on their heads. They stood on the hill above, while below, on the beach, men in dark suits and ties were already ready to pull the boats ashore. Joyful cheers accompanied His Royal Highness, set foot ready to spend the whole day in the village. The day included a visit to the fishing factory and local houses where knitwear was produced and unique local handicrafts were displayed. The Duke's lively interest and friendly openness immediately won the hearts of the inhabitants. He talked with them, sat in the kitchen to remove a pebble from a shoe, learned about the daily life of the islanders and found a warm welcome from everyone. At St. Mary's Church, the Duke saw an organ donated by Queen Mary, the white ensign taken from the frigate Magpie, which was once under his command, and a small stone font salvaged from a shipwreck in 1880. The lunch, which included fresh crawfish and stuffed roast lamb, was served in the administrator's house, which at the time was part of a wooden station built in 1942 to house a top-secret naval radio base. The central event of the day was the ceremony at the construction site of the new House of Culture. The Duke laid the first stone, putting a shilling under it for good luck, and accepted gifts from the island. For the Queen, a beautiful model of a longboat. For Prince Philip, a knitted island wool cardigan and an album with photographs. For Prince Charles, a model of a boat, and blue fish marbles eye, for Princess Anne, a model of a spinning wheel, as well as multicolored Islander socks. After naming the building Prince Philip Hall, the hospital, the island store and the vegetable display were visited. A fun football match on a sloping cattle pasture ended with the score, Islanders, Britannia Crew 2-2. After tea, the yacht's orchestra played a dance for the adults and His Royal Highness took part in the famous Tristan dance, much to the delight of all. Finally, the team returned to the gladioli boats that Martha Rogers had given the Duke for his cabin. The Islanders were nervous and apprehensive about the Duke's visit, but his relaxed manner made him the most popular guest. He was a nice person. Very nice. And we are supposed to believe that in order to establish ties with a remote corner of the British Empire, for the sake of a couple of hours of friendly visit, Prince Philip traveled 20,000 kilometers? The message above mentions the frigate Magpie, on which Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, served as an officer. He was appointed commander of the frigate and joined the crew on the 2nd of September 1950 after completing his training and military education at the Royal Naval College, Dartmouth. The frigate Magpie was a Black Swan-class patrol ship of the second series. It was built during World War II and launched in 1943. During its service, the frigate performed various tasks, including patrolling, escorting convoys, and providing security in maritime zones. The ship's name, Magpie, means someone who collects and stores a lot of things, often unnecessary, just in case. It is also interesting that the Magpie installation is now known in the UK, which is a terawatt-level generator, that is, it is designed to generate a huge amount of energy reaching the terawatt level. 1 terawatt is equal to 1 billion watts. It is used to produce powerful sources of X-ray radiation, as well as for research in the field of thermonuclear fusion. After the Second World War, the frigate Magpie continued to serve in the Royal Navy. But there is practically no information about this period. What is known is that in the 1950s the frigate was converted for use as a hydrographic survey and mapping vessel. His main area of activity was the Atlantic Ocean and adjacent waters. And thanks to the post above, we now know that this was the South Atlantic region. We do not yet know what missions the frigate Magpie performed under the command of Prince Philip. We would also like to draw your attention to the fact that there are commemorative coins, Tristan da Cunha, ships of privateering of the South Atlantic. Ships of marque were vessels that operated under government authorization and were assigned to capture or attack enemy ships or merchant ships for military or political military purposes. In general, they pirated. British-owned South Atlantic privateering ships operated in this strategically important area near the Tristan da Cunha group of islands. They could be involved in maritime conflicts or in the struggle for control of trade routes passing between the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. It turns out that Prince Philip, on the day of his wedding with Princess Elizabeth, the future Queen of the British Empire, in 1947, receives the title Duke of Edinburgh. And in 1950, he was appointed commander of the frigate Magpie, which carries out its missions in the South Atlantic, in the area of the Tristan da Cunha group of islands. Moreover, on each island there are place names with the mention of Edinburgh. Perhaps Philip continued the work someone else started earlier. We will investigate further. And in 2024, a mysterious anomaly begins to be recorded in this area. Are there too many coincidences? Let's return to our anomaly. The closest to the anomaly was Bouvet Island, located 350 kilometers from the main island of the Tristan da Cunha group. Let us remember that the anomaly moved from south to north. And due to its enormous size, all this time the anomaly was in the immediate vicinity of this island, until it disappeared from radar on April 11. What is known about Bouvet Island? It is a complex volcanic island about 5 million years old. The area of the island is 65 square kilometers. The highest height is Edinburgh Peak, Edinburgh again, 910 meters above sea level. It is also known from Wikipedia that there is a meteorological station on Bouvet Island, which has been leased from Great Britain, South Africa since 1956. It turns out that meteorologists were directly in the area of the anomaly and could record everything that was happening. Or maybe something on Bouvet Island is the cause of the anomaly occurring. On April 1, 2012, a note with the following content appeared on the internet on the websites of RIA Novosti and Gazeta.ru. CERN official James Gillies reported another April Fool's discovery by physicists. According to him, scientists discovered a new elementary particle on the volcanic island of Tristan da Cunha in the South Atlantic. We've been looking for new particles everywhere we can for years. Who would have thought that they were hiding in the most remote corner of the Earth, Giles said, as quoted by the Quantum Diaries website. Tristan da Cunha is considered the most remote inhabited archipelago on Earth. The distance from it to the nearest land is 2,800 kilometers. CERN physicists, according to a message on their website, received information about the new particle from the crew of a Canadian sailing ship that passed by the island last month. Now experts are discussing the possibility of moving the two largest detectors of the Large Hadron Collider, ATLAS and CMS, to the islands to confirm the discovery. The new particle, called a Foolian, may explain why elementary particles attract so much attention, theorists say. What an amazing April Fool's joke of 2012. According to the laws of the universe, which prescribe informing the population of planet Earth about everything that happens on the planet, the question arises, was this information a joke, or is it behind the scenes behind which research is being carried out on Bouvet Island and Tristan da Cunha under the auspices of CERN? We have an assumption that this is the goal not only of these studies, but also of the work of the entire CERN. However, details will be in our next videos. Have you read the book about Harry Potter? The poor boy, accustomed to difficulties and hardships, but who has not lost his boyish optimism, lives in constant oppression from his relatives. But one day, he is found by Rubeus Hagrid, one of the key characters in the world of magic, the keeper of keys and taboos at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And in an instant, an unknown boy becomes a star, of noble origin with inherent special magical abilities, as a result of karma, known in the world of magic as the boy who lived, the owner of countless treasures. Does this remind you of anything? We'll look at this topic in more detail in the next video. If you are interested in the topics of our channel, then like and subscribe so you don't miss anything.